We're talking about like appreciating being in that conversation of that wave of country music in Nashville and everything else. When did you know that iron was getting hot for you guys? Like when was the moment?
Oh man, I will never forget. So Morgan, when he was still like a nobody, which is so crazy to think about, recorded Up Down, and I was like, cool. And I remembered around it was sometime in May, my manager called me and said, hey, well, Up Down. So around May, Up Down was like top 10, and that was my first hit. I wrote Up Down, and that was like my first top 10. I was like, okay, I'm finally gonna have a little bit of success, make a little bit of money, and then
what year was this? I hate to
2018.
Okay,
around May of 2018, and then Seth called me again and said, he was like, hey, Up Down's probably gonna go number one, and then like a week later he called me and was like, you have the next, you wrote the next Florida Georgia Line single, and it was Simple. Was the song. And then like a week after that he called me and was like, you have the next Chris Lane single, and it was Talk You Out of It. And then or not Talk You Out of It, excuse me, I Don't Know About You was the name of the song. And then somebody else called me, there was another one, it was Jameson Rogers actually, and they were like, you have the next Jameson Rogers single, and which was called Some Girls, and all those songs ended up going number one. And and then it was like a month after that they were like, hey, Blake Shelton's gonna record God's Country. And then it was like, I mean, I remember there was a period of 6 months where for people, since I have been in town, where like you have nothing and then you get a hit. And then if the cards all fall right, you'll get one, and then you'll get another one, and you'll get another one.
No shit.
And it kept happening and kept happening. There was no rhyme or reason to any of it. I mean, there was no I felt like I got better as a songwriter. I definitely do, but everybody, I mean, that's just a part of anything that you do. You get better at it the more you do it, but it was like a time thing. And I just remembered like, okay, this is it. And then after that, and at the time I was still just a songwriter, and this was like 2018. And this was when like Simple and Up Down and all that stuff was kind of popping off. And my manager, Seth, called me and well, really, it's kind of a long story, but Tyler Hubbard he was in my ear like every other weekend, like, dude, you got to do the artist thing. That's what they say, do the artist thing. Mm-hmm. And all my buddies were signing record deals and they were just like gone, and their life was over. And like, my buddies who love to hunt and fish and all that shit. And they were like looking at me like, don't fucking do it, dude. Like, this shit sucks.
No shit.
A little bit, yeah, because it's like so grindy, man, and like you don't know. There's so much unknown, and you don't know if it's going to work out. But that's a part of the process. But next thing I know, Seth England, around that time where he was calling me to say I had the Simple and Up Down was going to go number one, blah blah blah, called me and was like, come into Big Loud, it's our record label. We want to chat with you about something. And I was like, what the fuck? And so I go in, I walk into it's like something out of a movie. I walk into Seth's office and all the label heads are there. And he literally basically just like handed me a record deal. And I was just a songwriter. Mm-hmm. Like I had no intentions of being an artist at all. And so I took it and sat on it for months. I sat on it for like a few months and like didn't know what to do, because I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. All my buddies are like literally it's like remember on "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," where the guy that gets he's like in prison, he turns around, he's like, do not seek the treasure, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. But I was reading this book called The Alchemist. Have you ever read that book?
Yeah, it's a great book.
I just finished it.
Paulo Coelho?
Something like, yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And it talked about all the omens and like opportunities. And I was basically like, I feel like this is a sign. And so that summer, around all that same time of the songwriter stuff was happening, I just signed a record deal and just was like, all right, here we go.
Dude, that's fucking wild. So those 2 months you were just kind of sitting on it. Were they calling you and being like, hey, what are you going to do?
Not really. They didn't put a lot of pressure on me.
Really?
But they've now become like dear friends of mine. We work together, obviously, but like there was a lot of strategy involved. Like they knew how much I love Joey Moy, who was my producer, who was like FGL's producer and Morgan's producer and all these people. And I had loved him since back when he produced Nickelback and all that. And like Joey called me out of the blue when I didn't know him, and I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And now looking back, I'm like, I'm sure that somebody was like, hey, it'd probably help if you called Hardy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was some shit like that
Get
definitely
him going.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it worked, and I don't regret it one bit. But it was all there was a that the summer of 2018 was just a very it was like I was at that point I was 8 or 9 years into town and with no success, and it was a really cool summer.
Yeah,
was a
I
lot going
was going
on.
to ask you about that. Like, what was those 9 years like? Was it just
I
how
mean,
many times you're like, dude, what am I doing?
I never, that my biggest like mantra or whatever so I went to MTSU. I graduated in 2013.
Shout out Kevin Byard.
And I signed a publishing deal shortly thereafter, which you guys obviously know the publishing deal, right? So, and I went 4 years and I did not get a single cut. Like I didn't have a single person record or even really sniff recording one of my songs. And in that time, I think I was just cocky enough or like stupid enough that like I was more, instead of like discouraged with myself, I was more pissed off and couldn't figure out why nobody wanted to cut one of my songs, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that kind of dumb blindness or maybe kept pushing me a little bit. I feel like you truly have to be stupidly like, you have to like just blindly believe in yourself to a point where it's almost like delusion until it actually happens.
Delusion, yeah.
It's like almost having too much awareness at that point in your life is a bad thing.
Yeah.
You're like 4 years in, someone would probably think to themselves with a lot of awareness, hey, I don't know if this is working out for me, but to be that kind of confidence is...
Yeah, and look, and I didn't even know I was, doing that at the time. Like, looking back, I was like, boy, you sure did believe in yourself for a guy that songs weren't good enough yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
9 years.
Yeah, but it just, I don't know. There's just something about like, I think all that shit, man, manifestation, whatever you want to call that. I feel like when you kind of have your blinders on and you're like, this is going to happen for me at some point. And if you just truly don't have a backup plan, and that was my thing. So to answer your question, like I never considered coming home, moving back home or anything. I just kind of was like, it's going to happen. And it eventually it just kind of did.